basically started out as just your normal sized Christmas tree at one time.
Okay.
Then we let these bigger ones go just to get bigger.
Okay, and they're beautiful trees, my God, but a different variety. So
Right, yeah, we're the ones down home. They were Fraser fir, where these are concolor fir.
Gotcha. And these are, I mean, they almost are so big that you can't get the scale. You know what I mean?
Well, these that are tied up right now, these are all 30 footers.
Wow. And now so I don't see any saplings. Is there a reason?
Really just because the operation we do here with the cutting of the large trees, and also we do dig these big trees, it takes up so much room with the big equipment you're moving around. Right. You'd be running over all your small stock that was in here.
It wouldn't be good. Yeah, we lost 10. Perfect.
These are colored trees. We started a couple years ago just as an advertising venture to get people's attention when they drive by, and then people asked if they could buy them that way. So we said sure. I mean, it'd be an initial cost, but it's a Christmas tree colorant,
right?
That's been developed. It's a permanent coloring.
So you spray it on them?
Yes. It's a water-based, just a water-based paint. They're sprayed during warm weather.
Wow, that's a great color.
Yeah, the coloring was developed really out west.
Okay.
This company, they made green coloring for trees for years and years and years. But out west, California, that whole area, flocking is a big deal.
What's that?
People spray their trees. It looks like fake snow on the tree.
Okay.
They do it all different colors also.
Okay.
So this company developed these colors to compete against the flocking industry.
And this is safe. Then it's environmentally.
That's environmentally safe. Yeah. What happens? I mean, these trees will get cut, but if one doesn't get cut, I can show you right over here. It doesn't harm the tree. The tree will grow right out of it.
Really?
This tree was sprayed last year.
Oh.
Purple.
Right.
And
that's awesome.
And the green is the new growth from this year.
Right.
So eventually, if you never did nothing more on this, it would just keep coming out with new green growth every year.
And then it'll push it out.
And as your tree sheds out older needles, after 4 or 5 years, this tree would just be completely green. Wow. Go back to green.
Well, that's cool. Now,
I mean, like I said, this has been a tree farm since back in the 50s. So this has had many different varieties, many different crops taken off it.
Okay.
We do interplanting, and what that is, you see these small ones.
You're reading my mind. I was just going to ask you.
You see these small ones already started.
Yep.
A lot of I'm not considered a big grower, I'm just small time. A lot of your big growers do a single crop to a field. Okay. Then they clear it off and just start over.
But isn't that the beauty of what you're doing? I mean, you're almost like equivalent to, this is a mom and pop business, really.
Really, yeah.
I mean, but that gives, to me, that's a cool thing to help promote. I mean, this isn't a big farm, corporatized tree farming. This is
right. Yeah, we're just small time, so to speak. So we have to go through an interplant every year to have ones coming to replace the ones that are coming out.
Right. And then how long would a tree, does it vary, or is it about the same for most trees?
Typical from seedling to a normal 7-foot size Christmas tree is 10 to 12 years.
Wow. That's a huge investment.
So yeah, it's a long-term prospect.
So yeah, we'll talk about your history, because I'm like right away I'm thinking like that's like the vineyard thing. Like, so you got to plant them, you got to wait.
Right.
So there's that time period where you're like, okay, you can't make it grow any faster.
That's why we're planting every year, because if you skip a few years, all of a sudden you have a gap where you won't have anything marketable ready.
That's the green spray.
This is teal.
Teal.
The green is just a plain, like a forest green, just a real nice dark green.
So these big corporatized farms, are they environmentally sound or no?
Oh yeah.
So this whole industry's
right, and it's considered actually crop. It is considered a crop now.
It is.
Just like just like your farms grow corn every year, there's just tree farms that just.
And that's changed over the years, though, right? I mean,
Right.
now it's considered.
It's a very sustainable, renewable resource.
And people, listen, it brings great joy to the world. It really does. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you can't have Christmas without a Christmas tree.
I mean, your fake trees really took over the market, but the real trees are coming back now. But your fake tree, it goes in a landfill and it'll sit there for 1,000 years.
Yes. Thank you for saying it, because I was going to talk about that. Yeah.
Where a lot of these go in your villages and stuff, they go through a chipper, they're recycled,
Right.
they're used as mulch.
I personally,
Yep.
you know, if you're going to do one thing.
But the real tree is making a comeback, especially with the millennials.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because
I
they
didn't know
are so much more environmentally conscious.
So right. Well, because they're the ones that are being left with the mess, right?
Right.
So they've got to figure out, like, your tree. See, these are beautiful. The tree is,
These are Fraser fir.
these are beautiful.
This is your most popular Christmas tree now. This is a Fraser fir.
So it always wasn't.
No, it's years ago when this farm first started. Everything was Scotch pine.
Is that so? That's been the traditional.
That
one
was
for-
that was the traditional tree back in the '60s.
gorgeous.
Then things started changing. It became a lot of issues with Scotch as far as disease issues.
Oh, the trees just wouldn't.
They just didn't do well in this area.
Okay.
A lot of it had to do just with climate and soils and so on.
I see.
Michigan still grows nice Scotch pine, and Pennsylvania does, but they just don't do well in this area.
It's just for some crazy reason.
Right.
Uh,
So the big switch with all the growers was then switching over to Douglas fir and your blue spruce, which is Colorado spruce.
Right.
They lasted for a long time, but then this tree was developed out of the Carolinas, mainly North Carolina.
Right.
There's a ton of these growing down there in the mountains.
And it seems to be a denser needle, right?
Right. It was kind of developed for needle retention, for color. Your Fraser fir has excellent needle retention.
And what are the varieties of trees that we're looking at here?
Well, like I said, everything here right in front of us is all Fraser fir.
It is. Okay.
We have concolor fir. We have some Canaan fir.
Okay.
We're starting to grow Turkish fir, which is considered more
Wow.
of an exotic.
I was just going to ask. I've never heard of that before. What's the difference in Turkish fir?
They'll grow on wetter ground.
Okay.
A lot of the growers, especially you get up Erie County, Niagara County, that area, Western New York, they can't grow the Fraser fir.
They can't.
Fraser fir like well-drained soils,
Okay.
gravel ground.
Okay.
And you get, like I say, Erie County, Niagara County, it's all heavier clay soils,
Right.
and they just don't do good. Where a lot of the growers there are switching over to some of the exotics, the Canaan fir, the Turkish fir, Nordmans. There's a whole group of so-called exotics that will grow better on wetter, heavier soils.
What is it again?
Bald and burlap.
Bald and burlap.
Right, that's
What
when
do
you,
we-
that's when you dig a tree.
I see.
So those are sold for landscaping purposes.
That's it.
Up on top where it flattens out. We're on the side, it's too steep for digging, so those are Christmas trees.
So what type of tree, do you have like a certain crop for landscaping that you're known for?
Your most popular tree right now is your Norway spruce.
Okay. Reason being? Hardiness or?
Hardiness, ease of transplanting, no disease issues.
Okay. So it's great for this area then. So
Right.
it'll withstand disease, it'll withstand the environment, the temperature fluctuations, and does well in summer,
Correct.
does well in winter. Now, how long will an average Christmas tree last? Like, it's something that we never seem to know. That's dependent upon your care, correct?
Yes, I mean if it's taken care of properly, because what happens with a lot of instances, and it's happened to me, you get lazy with watering,
Sure.
and if your pan dries out once,
Right.
then that stump seals over,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and then it won't suck and it won't draw any more water.
Because we're dealing with the pine syrup, kind of,
Correct.
right? So
The
that
sap.
will the sap will solidify
Yep.
the second that it can, because that's the
Correct.
nature, that's its purpose in the tree. It's supposed to protect the tree, right?
Right. I mean
it's-
that's where it gets its nutrients and stuff is up through that
right.
area. Once it dries out, it seals right over, and the tree won't drink any more water. So you can put water on it all day long after that, but the tree will just sit there and dry out because it can't draw water up through.
Is there anything that you could do at that point other than pulling the tree out and recutting?
That'd be the only thing you could do.
Is pull it out.
Right. Take it down, recut it, put it back up
I
again.
can see a dad saying, "Joan, really? That's the third time this month. We got to reset the tree." The kids would like it.
So that's where you really got to be diligent on your watering.
Right.
And that's
So I didn't realize
that's
that.
the only thing you really need.
So when you cut that, like pretty much within a half hour, you got to get that thing in
You're good
water.
for a couple hours.
You are, okay.
But even, I mean, there's old wives' tales, so to speak, about putting aspirin in the water, putting sugar in the water.
I've a girlfriend that I lived with a while ago.
Yeah,
told
and
me to do
there's the
that.
additives that you can buy, but all you need is just water.
Okay, because that's the natural way.
That's all the tree wants is just water, because the tree is drying out through the needles.
Right. So what are we looking at here?
And so the water is just,
right,
keeping it supple. And it does have to do, it gets into also your different varieties, is why some trees have better needle retention than others.
Right.
Because if you want to get into the scientific part of it,
Yes, please do.
at the base of each needle, there's a little sap sac.
Really?
And each different variety, that sac differs in size. And so your firs, that little sac is actually, I mean, we're talking, microscopic level.
Right.
But that sac is bigger. So it has more moisture, more sap in it.
So that's almost like an articulated joint area.
Sort of, yeah.
Because it's where its connectivity to the tree, it gives it its flexibility and right.
But because that has, I guess, a larger supply of moisture in the tree, right in that little sap sac, it makes these last, 2 or 3 times longer than like a Norway spruce would as far as a cut tree. Or years ago, people used to use hemlock. And that's, terrible for needle retention.
So a hemlock is what?
Just a wild, I mean, it's used for lumber, but they used to just grow, well, I mean, they still do grow in the woods, but now it's used more as a landscaping tree.
Right, but it's nothing you should use for a Christmas tree. And now over the years since you started, what was the first crop that you guys, your dad started this, right?
Right,
so
yeah.
were you even born when it started?
Yeah.
You were? So we'll talk about that later on the interview. But so, what was the first tree that you guys?
That was Scotch pine. It was originally grown.
Pine. So this was the traditional tree that we all grew up with.
Yep.
That Scotch pine. So over the last 20 years, now the market is diversified because there's
even longer than 20 years. I mean, I'm talking back in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, okay.
With Scotch pine.
Okay. So from the 80s up.
Then in the 70s, everybody switched. All the growers switched to growing Douglas fir.
They did.
And the blue spruce was popular then. But then got into disease issues with the Douglas fir, and everybody started switching to the Fraser fir.
Okay.
And like I said, now that's just the most popular tree is the Fraser.
So my natural question is, this is a huge tree. What are we looking at? 30 feet?
No, that's only about 25.
Really? This is not something you're going to put in your house. So now will you,
not
this serve
a normal house.
You could, right? There are some, you have your living room. You
Right.
could probably.
Yeah, we do a 16-footer.
You do?
Yeah.
Right. But will this stay here and just keep growing until somebody has an order for something this size? And this is what we were talking about before, about year-round care on these. I mean, this isn't like, it's a crop. And
Right.
It's a crop that doesn't go away.
It's a year-round job.
I mean, you're only harvesting certain amounts of the crop. In the world of farming, this is a very unique crop, correct?
Yes.
Because your application of your skill set is completely different. We're not clearing out an acre or two in a full.
Right. It's not like a corn crop where you plant it in the spring, you go through and chop
Very
it all in the
selective.
fall.
Right.
This you got to keep it sustaining year after year after year.
Yep. And like any other good arborist, can you this is a gorgeous tree. This is almost perfect. This is like when you're a kid and you draw a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
This kind of looks like that's a beautiful triangular. So
That's all in your pruning style.
That's what I was going to ask. So do you have a crew that does that, or is it just you?
I do it.
You do all these trees.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's like thousands of trees here.
It's a slow process. It takes a while.
Oh my God. So if somebody comes to your house and she'll say, "Bill's up on the hill." That's pretty much.
Yeah, but there's dedicated times of the year when you do most of your pruning.
But that's a lot of pruning.
Yeah, it is.
And you have to know. So this is also your skill set too, because you could teach it, but there's a lot of intuitive. There's so many trees that you probably have to look at a tree and in 2 seconds know exactly what you need to do because you have thousands of trees.
Right. Yeah. I don't even have to think about it. It's just natural.
Is it relaxing?
Now.
It's like tending a garden. A little bit.
Well, if you're doing a
A lot of
handful,
hard
yeah.
work,
When you're doing
but-
thousands, no.
Do you have a big board, like a, the 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
We also sell boughs to the wreath makers.
What's that?
Just branches.
Oh, okay, boughs. You sell the boughs to the wreath makers.
Right.
So that's a whole nother thing, though. So you're doing the cutting on the boughs, too?
Mm-hmm.
But that's got to be tens of thousands of boughs, right? And you're selling them in huge...
Well, they're sold by the pound.
Okay. But see, this is another thing. Do you have bough trees that you specifically like have boughs? Because
Yep.
you can't touch. Like, so example, this like the symmetry on this tree is awesome, and most of the like that's beautiful too.
Right.
But you're not going to be cutting willy nilly boughs because it's going to affect.
There's one you can see they got it all trimmed up.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get close to that. So there's a ton of variety here that you can utilize. I mean, there's a lot of purpose to these trees. This isn't just cutting it for a tree. I mean, you've got the boughs, you've got the trees for civic use, you've got trees for home use, right?
Correct.
And then I love that you have the bird boxes. I really do.
Yep.
So just to encourage, just because. I mean,
It's a natural bug eater.
oh, so there's that. Okay.
Yeah, these
so
are
there's
tree swallow houses.
and bluebirds are aggressive. Are tree swallows?
Yes.
So they're very protective of their right, and you have quite a lot. So it's a natural pesticide. That's awesome.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's just natural pest
environmentally-
control.
Right. So, but so is that a recent addition, or has this always been a thing?
No, they've always been here.
Really, and they really probably do help. I mean, they eat how many pounds?
Oh
every
yeah, I
week?
mean they're flying around all day long and just
So maybe
hundreds
we'll-
or thousands of bugs they probably eat. Yeah, there's the tree spade.
Whoa, that's crazy looking. So it literally opens up like a spade, digs into the ground,
Correct.
and so do you dig like a trench around the ball? Is that what the purpose of that spade is?
No, it actually, if I was transplanting a tree for you, I would come to your place, use the spade to dig a hole first,
Okay.
get rid of the dirt, then go get the tree, come back and set it right in the hole. Then
Wow.
the tree you're bringing in matches perfectly to the hole you've already created.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this whole thing tips up, it goes back, then sets on the ground. These blades, each one of these blades on these towers travel up the tower. So it sets right flat on the ground. Then you
Right.
run the blades into the ground and just lay the tree down over the truck and get down the road with it.
It's a monster, man. I've never seen. It's a big shovel.
Well, it beats a shovel.
It's crazy looking. So your dad's interest in this business was what? Like, how do you get involved in this business? Period. He bought a farm, and on the farm, it was a dairy farm.
Small dairy, but that was the nature of all the farms in the area at that time. They were all small family farms.
Right.
But he didn't want to do the dairy. He went into beef cattle for a number of years. And then he started the Christmas tree business really as a sideline or as supplemental income.
So this wasn't anything that it was just a part-time thing. Now,
Correct.
where was the first acreage for the first tree farm?
The very first would have been way up on top of the hill behind me. And when you get up on top, it flattens off and his fields go back a substantial distance.
Yeah. So how far back do they go? I mean, are we looking like, are you up past on the other side of the hill pretty much? As far as your acreage
like I
goes?
said, it flattens out and just stays flat once you get up there. Then
Oh, it does.
It goes back from the crest of the hill that you can see right there. It goes back probably the fields, probably another quarter mile.
Wow. And so how long was the process? Like, so your dad did this every year. We have a front-loaded timeline though on this. So again, this is a business where, were there trees there? And he's like, oh, these make great Christmas trees.
No, he started it.
He did. So he had to plant the saplings. And he had to wait like a good decade.
Yep.
Before
That's
he could
why
sell
it
them.
was really just a secondary, supplemental income. He was a truck driver for many years locally,
Right.
hauled milk and worked for the highway department. And like I said, and just the trees, you could say the trees kind of took things over.
They did.
Got rid of the beef cattle because, well, back then the beef market wasn't that strong
It was
a market.
pretty soft.
So yeah, you just planted everything into trees. So it was pasture and cropland. You just put all into trees.
Well, there was that time period too. So he was transitioning through like a decade. He was doing his other jobs. He was getting rid of the beef cattle, and then he was transitioning into the trees.
Correct.
And now, once he realized, you were alive then, right, through
Yep.
all this. So, did you help him when you were a kid doing this?
As soon as I was old enough to hold on to a pair of pruning shears,
That's what.
we were out in the field working.
And that's what you're doing. But at one point, you turned a corner on these really large, beautiful trees.
Right. That was more myself as I started my own farm. And started getting into bigger trees. Initially, first with the landscape market, with the tree digging end of it.
Right.
There's a demand for large trees, so we started letting the material get bigger.
Right.
But then we started to needed a need for bigger tree spades.
Right.
So then I started buying the larger spades, and that's why I have the big one today. And so this one kind of worked with the other. And so with having the large trees available, then it opened up the large Christmas tree market because there's very few guys that do it.
So if somebody sees this and they're looking at having this process done, are you booking seasons out in advance, or what's your timeline on?
No, it's usually just a matter of a week or two ahead.
Oh, really? So even like peak summer business, it's still a week or two ahead, or?
Summertime, you tend not to do much of it in the summertime unless it's absolutely necessary, because that's when your plants are growing.
Oh. So you want them more of in a dormant stage.
Right, correct.
See.
That's where you do it. Springtime, you do your evergreens before they start to grow, or your deciduous material before the leaves come on.
Right.
Then the fall, late summer, fall, evergreens, as the new growth is hardened off, you can start.
And for the season for you, now your Christmas season goes right up to Christmas Eve for the Christmas tree?
Typically a couple days before.
You'll wind it down, wind
Right.
it back. And the shop is always open in Arcade from when?
Yes, the arcade gift shop is open 7 days a week.
Okay.
Year round.
And we should talk about that too. So this is the other side of your business, which so you grew up in this business here, and you met your wife and got married. Was that her business, or was that
Yes.
part? So she started that. I don't know.
Correct.
So that was just what, a front room, and that
It started out very small. That building that it was in used to be a car wash, and it had a jeweler in it, and it had the antique business in it. And we bought the building and redid the front part, and then there's been 2 additions added on to it since then.
I mean, it's a really great place. It's a quintessential country store in the best sense of the word. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in there. And then she's got the antique section and the whole front food
It's packed
section.
full. It's changed over the years.
Right.
Initially, when it first opened, it was really just all collectibles. I mean, there was a Christmas room in there for year-round Christmas shop in there, but times change, especially in the collectible business. That's really fallen off.
Right.
Just trends go in and out.
Right.
So now it's the primitive type furniture and decor is real big, and she's doing the antiques now, antique furniture, antique and vintage type material.
Right.
Still has the candles. Still there's bulk foods. Just a wide range of stuff there.
It's perfect for arcade. It
Yeah.
really is. And
Yeah.
arcade's just got this whole feel to it, and that store kind of typifies what you would want in arcade.
You really have to stop there to see what's there, because it's just so much stuff.
Oh, there's a ton. Yeah. That's why I said I stopped there last week. She had the rooms are all broken up into different
Right.
variety of product. But I mean, that's also another great business for you guys. And you couldn't get a better spot in town to sell your trees, right?
Right.
I mean, it works on because you would need a lot anyways,
Right.
and it would be an arcade, so you have that natural extension of this business.
Yeah, we just set it right in the front lawn.
Right.
And sell.
And then, so now when people come out here, this is the first year for your Christmas shop here.
Here,
Right.
yes.
So now what's nice about that is you really are turning it into a destination now, where it always was. You come out, you get your tree, and you get it up on your car.
Yeah,
But now
it's-
it's a little bit more of
Yeah,
a
it's been a destination, but now we just got more to offer.
exactly, and it's probably going to organically grow too. I mean, you just got to kind of
Hopefully.
Did people suggest that to you, or did you guys? Just,
No, we just decided to do it.
Yeah, it's well worth it.
Right. It's a popular thing. A lot of your cut your own operations, which gets into the whole agritourism thing, which is
Right.
another whole. You could do segments on that for hours and hours.
Or
We don't do any real big ones down there. We do have a tree baler down there. It's a smaller tree baler than
Okay.
the one I showed you.
Right.
And it won't handle the real big trees, the 12, 14 footers. Here, I have the bigger baler here for baling them up after they're bought. So we do have the big stuff available here.
Okay.
Inside the barn there, it's underneath, they're hanging from the floor. I can fit 8-foot trees, 8 foot and lower in there.
Right.
9, 10 footers, I'll have them in there, but they're not tied up.
Sure.
Which when you come back, you'll get a better idea what I'm talking about.
Okay. And business now. Right?
Yeah, and the big thing is with the environmental impact, especially, New York has a program now about being grown and certified in New York. And we're one of there's some other areas, some other growers in Western New York that have become part of it, but we are certified.
You are.
As a grown and certified New York grower, which they come in and do an inspection of their property and make sure you're doing everything copacetic, so to speak, that doing everything the proper way.
So, and that certification's a big deal, yes? I mean,
Yeah, it is.